You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, here hanging with you guys. And today we actually have a special guest that's going to be joining us on the show. I'm really excited about doing this episode. It's something that I've been trying to lock down for a couple of weeks here. And this guy's busy. I'm busy. We're all running around and we're getting into the spring rush. But nonetheless, we've finally locked him down. We got none other than Weston Zimmerman joining us from Synked Up. So Weston, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing today?
Hey, thanks, man. It's good to be on here. Last time I ran into you was at your Entrepreneur Academy event. I got the full Fullerton experience.
Yeah, well, that was just a wild time in general, wasn't it? What you guys think of the show?
It was great. I came away thinking like it was more than I expected it to be.
Cool. Okay.
I was impressed. The go-karts were awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good feedback. Checks in the mail for that one, for the little plug there. So thank you. But it's funny. I didn't even know that you guys were there until I was going back through Synked Up's Instagram, and I see you guys take a photo in front of our banner. And I'm like, dude, these guys were even at our show. Like, that's wild. Like, I appreciate the support, man. And I think we went ahead like a couple of Instagram DMs back and forth, but I didn't know you, obviously back then. And so it was just kind of wild to have you guys there,
Yeah, and that was great. I kind of came in incognito mode.
Hey, you know what? But that's cool. It's really cool seeing people support what we're doing and, checking out what we're doing and price surveying, a little intel recon there, I'm just having fun. We appreciate you guys coming in. Well, here's the deal really quick, guys. I wanted to get Weston on, and this isn't going to be a pitch fest or anything like that for Synked Up, but I don't know if you guys are living anywhere in the blogosphere. You guys have probably seen them pop up a ton everywhere. It seems like a lot of folks are transitioning to them in the hardscape world, the landscape world. I asked Weston straight up. I said, "Can I get you on the show?" He's not paying me to get on. I don't have an affiliate link. I've got no skin in the game. So I'm going to come at this as genuine as possible, like we try to do with all of our content. And I said, Weston, like I'm seeing people all over the place adopt you guys and sign up with your CRM. So when I see stuff like that, I want to get somebody on the phone and say, "What's up? Who are you guys? What are you doing? Why are you making a splash? Why are you making a wave out there?" And so we're going to just kind of kick it for the next 20, 30 minutes. And Weston, we're going to just kind of take it wherever it takes us. But for those that don't know you, and this will be even helpful for me too, because I'm getting to know you more as well. I always call it like the highlight reel. Can you give us like a minute or two snapshot about who you are, your background, who's Synked Up, and where you guys are coming from? Yeah.
I basically grew up in central Pennsylvania, the Appalachian Mountains. Greg Wistock calls it Podunkerville, PA. and I worked for a company called Tussie Landscaping basically since I was 15 or 16. So pretty much my whole life I've been in this industry. And at that company, I started there just as a laborer, worked my way up, became a crew leader. I loved the water features. In 2017, we ended up winning Aquascapes Artist of the Year award. And about that same 2016, 2017 timeframe, I was trying to implement a bunch of different, organizational softwares into Tussie Landscaping, had mixed success. Every one of the products had things that we're good at, but ultimately most of them were organizational, meaning they were meant to save you time, but not really marry the organizational aspect to the know your numbers aspect. So it was always like you always had your software plus your stack of spreadsheets, right? Mm-hmm. So we kind of wanted to marry those two together into creating one system that did both those things integrated. And there's a couple out there. LMN does that. They're really the only other ones that I know of that do have an emphasis on knowing your numbers. Like they've done a lot of good for the industry with budgeting and estimating.
Okay.
But yeah, so we had an experience there with them. But anyway, back to who I am. Basically, I had a desire to fix this problem for Tussie Landscaping, and it didn't take us long to be like, you know what, this is not a Tussie Landscaping problem. This is an industry problem. Like I saw this pop up not only for our company, but in conversations all across the internet for other companies. And I kind of had a spark of an idea, and my dad was connected to technology, so we kind of had a perfect storm of a mature landscaping company, a lot of employees that were there for 10, 15, 20 years, so there was a lot of experience. Plus, we had access to some technology, some developers, And it just, that's where the dream started. And here 6 years later, we are where we are here with Synked Up, which is basically a project management software with an emphasis on knowing your numbers.
Wow, that's awesome, and that's actually a really, really cool story. And I appreciate you sharing the background, because I don't know if you guys ever. There's an old one, like if you see two turtles sitting on a fence post, you got to realize like they didn't put themselves there, right? And and so the old analogy and joke from that one is it's fun seeing where people get to, but also like there's a whole story in between, like the meetings, the conversations, the heartaches, the try, fail, adjust. And so you guys are really starting to catch your stride. I've noticed as a CRM that it's just taken a lot of folks. I follow Instagram, and I follow you guys just as much as you guys follow us. You guys know what I mean? Like I'm always like, what's the best equipment? What's the best reviews? What are people using? I just was watching Calfest the other day, and he bought a brand new chipper, and I'm like, I literally just got off the phone with him 10 minutes before talking with Weston. I'm like, hey, do you like that thing? Like for real, just like you guys do with me. And as I, do you like it, or are they just paying you to say that? And he's like, no, dude, I bought it with my own money. I'm like, all right, cool. So it's fun learning. You know, I always say like change comes from the bottom up in our industry, and it's really cool to see what other people are using. So I'm watching guys like I think Josh Sutton signed up with you guys, John Henry's I think Mulder might have switched over to you guys. So it's really cool seeing the way that you guys are making. So here's what I want to do. We're going to open this thing up. We're going to talk about who Synked Up is. What does knowing your numbers mean? What's the CRMs for? What about Jobber? What about Element? What about Yardbook? These are all probably common questions that a lot of you guys have. And again, I don't have any skin in the game with Synked Up. I'm just telling you guys straight up. You guys know I use Yardbook. Full disclosure, they're a sponsor on our YouTube channel. But if you guys are landscapers and you go with LMN, like fantastic. If you guys have a 400-person fertilizer company and you go with Jobber, fantastic. I don't have any codes or links for everybody. So I try to be as neutral as possible, because I really value your guys' time. I really value your guys' money and time and opinions. And so I don't want to just, shovel stuff out to people that it's like, because we're getting a back end deal. So it's nothing like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
I think people appreciate that, because like it's pretty easy to sniff through and see.
Yeah. And I've said 100 times before, like my business model, like if Yardbook didn't, sponsor the YouTube channel, I don't think I would switch to a different CRM, just to be honest. Like it's working. It's working flawlessly for my size company and our operation where we're currently at. I guess that's the only asterisk. If I grow a $10 million company, maybe we would change, or $1 million company. I don't know. But right now, I'm super happy with them. So let's do this really quick. Weston, we got bills to pay. We want to just take a quick second to take a nod to our show sponsors and hear a little bit more from the announcement. So guys, hang tight really quick, because I really do want to open this one up and hear a little bit more from Weston. He's got a ton of info, ton of industry knowledge, and a plethora of information that I'm sure he can share with you guys about Synked Up and helping you guys know your numbers and everything in between. So let's do this really quick. Let's kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, down in the ATL, and then we're going to come right on back.
Ballard Innovative Products is a full line of gear for the lawn and landscape professional. From mower gear, safety gear, trailer racks, equipment securement, equipment servicing tools, aerators, mower blades, X-blades, aluminum baggers, cleaning products, snow removal tools, and so much more to make you efficient, effective, safe, and profitable in the field. Be sure to check out the Ballard-Inc.com website to help dominate and elevate your business this season. With over 20 years selling accessories and 30 years in the business, they're sure they've got something you can't live without. Corey also said to tell you they appreciate the support and look forward to serving you this season, and to stay safe and keep grinding, friends. And oh yeah, don't forget to use Brian's 10 at checkout to save 10%.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to jump right back into it. We are going right back to Weston. By the way, Weston, today's lunch for me was Jersey Mike's, and I've got a lemonade because I've given up pop, and it's been about 4 weeks going strong, no pop. So rock and roll in there.
Nice.
But anyway, so my traditional, we're going to get a sip of water, is we're going to get a little sip of the lemonade today. So so let's go all the way back. Weston, I have a quick question for you. You skated over it, but I wanted to just ask, just broadly speaking, you can be as intimate or aloof as you want with the question, but the other company that you guys were working at, was it like a $500,000 company, $1 million company, a $10 million company? Like, give me some more context there of what you guys were dealing with day to day. Yeah,
when I started there back in 2007, I think it was, It was a $700,000 company.
Okay,
and basically one crew trying to get into two crews. I think right about the time I was coming, it turned into two crews. And today, with the COVID boom and everything, it's 5 million.
Wow.
With 20 plus guys.
Okay.
And it's a design build company with exquisite outdoor living spaces, plus some property and landscape maintenance.
Okay. Gotcha. That helps out a lot. And so the issue you guys were running into was, what was it, like scheduling, job costing? Like where did Synked Up birth out of? Like what was the main core issue?
Yeah, I'd say like as far as like, scheduling, I would put that into the organizational save time bucket. Okay. And there's a lot of different tools out there that will help you do that, all the way from Google Calendar to an Asana, you name it. Like there's tons of tools out there in the scheduling world that are made to be organizational and saving you time. I think our pain was coming more from being profitable, because it's really easy to have $1 million top line number business and not be making any money. I'm sure you know that. Mm-hmm. And so we were on a journey. This was before I was really even involved in this conversation, just for disclosure. Like there was the two lead sales guys and the owner of the company. I was not an owner of Tesla Landscaping. I was just a crew member.
Okay, cool.
And so that was more their conversation. That I don't know, probably people listening here have heard of Charles Vanderkoy. He was kind of the grandfather of the multiple overhead recovery budget system, which is basically a system designed to help you accurately recover your overhead to make sure that your overhead's being recovered. So what you think is profit truly is profit. Mm-hmm. And so we, Steve, the owner of Tussie, went to a bunch of his classes, and then LMN came on the scene with their budgeting tool, which, by the way, is great. It's really good. And we were using that, but it was still just budgeting and estimating. They didn't have any job costs. Still don't.
Okay.
Unless you export to QuickBooks Desktop. So job costing is really kind of where it came down to the wire, as like nobody is doing this, or at least nobody is doing this well. There's a couple products out there that kind of have it on their bullet point list of features, but it's kind of, when you really dig into it and look at it, it's kind of like this squint your eyes, look at a fine print PDF report, and then, you want to see that? You got to go to this other report. It's kind of tough to see what you need to see at a glance.
Okay.
So that was kind of, the job costing is really what was the catalyst of like, this is something that nobody is doing. And in our opinion, job costing is just as important to this whole game of knowing your numbers as is budgeting and estimating, because you could have a perfect budget, estimate with perfect markup overhead recovery markups and profit markups, and still mess up that estimate and lose money if you, for instance, didn't estimate the correct quantity of man hours or the correct quantity of materials. Your markups could be dialed in, but if you're not getting your quantities right, that's still another way that you can really lose out on a job. So job costing is kind of like what closes off that missing loop. It gives you that feedback loop and tells you, in plain English, it just tells you where you went right, where you went wrong. And so you don't repeat the same mistakes.
And we're talking about tracking the profitability of an actual job, right? So we're talking about the revenue of that job and then the actual cost of that job. That's what job.
Sometimes
we've heard that word 1,000 times.
Yeah, sometimes I say job costing, and people think, I do job costing, and they think they're estimating. They're thinking like, markups for estimating. Like, no, that's not what I mean. Like estimating is, coming up with the price for the customer, but then job costing is after the job is done, comparing estimated versus actual profit, expenses, hours, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think the best word I heard, Caleb Allman, I think it was an older podcast, but he said it's like doing an autopsy on your last job. And he might have said that like a year and a half ago, or somebody did. I'll throw Caleb a bone. Credit Caleb Ballman, right? He's always got his motivational quips, right? And by the way, Kid Contractor podcast, Caleb Ballman, I love learning from Caleb and Brittany because they have an entirely different business, an entirely different part of the industry that I participate in. I'm a mow and blow guy. Like we cut grass, we do a lot of it. We do some auxiliary services like mulch and a little bit of landscaping and flower install, but nothing like a lot of you guys also listening in do, though. That is full service, like landscaping and tear outs and renovations. And then from there, the hardscaping and the patios and the construction work. So that's where the CRMs, differ in my opinion. But I heard Caleb talk a lot about that, like doing autopsies on your jobs and seeing like, hey, did we actually like hit the profitability that we were looking for? Like, did we use an extra 5 yards of mulch? Did we use an extra, I don't know hardscaping, but an extra pallet of bricks? I don't know, whatever. Yeah. But it's looking back on it and saying like, hey, did we bid this job for $3,000? We wanted to make $1,500 on it. Did we actually do that? Or did we get the skid steer stuck in the mud? Then we used 4 extra yards of mulch, and we really only made $700 on this job because we burned through it on labor and materials, right? So it is really, really cool to see that there's our CRMs that are having these kind of features built into it. I don't know if I personally do enough landscaping, hardscaping that I would use a tool like that day to day for like mowing, for example. But you know what? Let me throw that question out to you. Help me out with the lay of the land. Like, and you can say pros and cons, but maybe we'll try to keep it pretty neutral here, pretty vanilla. But talk to me and to these guys. What's the difference with a Synked versus an Element? An Element versus a Yard Book? Like you're in the thick of it, so you're the sales guy for this, not me. But what have you noticed? Like the pros and cons, who's using what, and where does Synked maybe shine the best? Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, like, every one of these products was created to solve a problem, and they all do really good at their core thing, right? And it's a little bit like going car shopping. There's umpteen models to choose from. It kind of, some of, personal preference kind of plays into this too, a little bit.
Okay.
If you're a car guy, you might want some speed and horsepower, or if you're just like, hey, I just want to save gas, you want a Prius or whatever. Like, it just depends what your objective is with using a software in your system. But, and I would say the biggest thing is each one of these products, like Element, Yard Book, Jobber, they all kind of serve a slightly different persona. And the question is, well, what persona am I? Who am I? Like, what business do I run, and what would be the best fit for that? So,
sure.
In my experience, like, Yard Book is great for like what you're doing, Brian. Like, it's the mow and blow. It's simplistic. It helps you be organized. It helps you manage card on file. It helps you just schedule your work and get paid.
Yep.
And for many people, that's all they're looking for. They don't want any more bells and whistles. They just want a Tesla that kind of goes on autopilot versus a jet cockpit with a million buttons.
Sure. Great analogy right there. And by the way, I always say, like, Yard Book is like an iPhone. Like, it's not like wildly customizable, right? It's a very I have all Mac products just because they work. Like, I'm not trying to I don't have to really worry about viruses or things not working or syncing. Like, if it's on my phone, it's on my iPad. If it's on my iPad, it's on my iMac. And some people are like, well, my PC is 2.5 times faster for a third of the price. And I'm like, I don't care. My Mac stuff just works, and your PC stuff crashes all the time. And it's like, but some guys are like, PC or die, or Droid or die. And I'm like, I get it. That's cool. For me, that's why I love Yard Book. It's so simple. It's straightforward. It's not fancy. But you know what? I can't also do a lot of the fun, cool stuff with an iPhone that people can do with a PC or their Droid. So it does beg the question, like, am I self-limiting my business or me or my company or my thought process? Probably to a degree, but I'm in my happy little place. I like my happy place, Weston. So go ahead, continue. You were on a roll. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. And you make a great point, because personal preference, there's two things at play: personal preference and what do you really need.
Sure. Great question.
And because, like, with what you really need, Yard Book meets that objective. Now, can you job cost? Can you see estimated versus actual hours? Like, are you sure you're estimating your accounts at the correct pricing? I assume you probably have your method of coming up with that, but I doubt that it's inside of Yard Book.
No. We use a lot of our data from QuickBooks.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's an example. There's a missing link. Okay. So if you're like, hey, I've got to dial in my numbers. I want to scale this company, and I need to track my production against my estimates so that I know that I'm not underselling myself or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly you start shopping for a different solution. Another one, not like Jobber. I actually like Jobber. They're really easy to use. They're super simple. They're awesome, but they also are completely in the organizational camp. Like, they're there. Their tools are built to save you time. It's really what their play is. And a lot of guys, Jobber is the first software they use. It's kind of like their first one they sign up for and begin using.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really easy to use, and it helps them with scheduling, getting quotes out to customers in a customer portal digitally, helps you get paid, has a mobile app to kind of view your schedule from your phone. Like, there's a lot of really cool things that are really useful and help you save a lot of time. But in terms of this whole know your numbers thing, they don't even approach that. Like, they don't even have anything in their product to help you do that.
Okay, that's fair.
So, again, back to what are you looking for? Are you looking for something organizational that saves you time? Jobber's great. But what happens to a lot of landscape companies that start using Jobbers, they get to that $1 million mark, and they tend to, like, they kind of outgrow it and they start looking for the next thing. And they tend to get to this point where like, man, I really need to dial my numbers in. And then LMN was the other one on the market that a lot of people would go from from Jobber to LMN. Because LMN was the only other one that kind of had an emphasis on knowing your numbers. But then it was much more on the jet cockpit side of that analogy I gave, where it's very it's a big system. It's broken up into multiple pieces. There's the budgeting, there's the estimating, there's the time tracking, and it really helped. LMN has done a lot of good for the industry. They've saved businesses essentially, like with their budgeting and their teaching around how to recover your overhead.
Sure.
I've had a lot of people tell me like LMN saved my business when I started building a budget in there, and that's great. I want to give them props for that. But then they're definitely not as easy to use as a Jobber. So there's like back years ago when we were starting this idea of Synked Up, a lot of people would say, man, I want it to be as easy to use as Jobber and have the tools that LMN has to help me know my numbers.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a good soundbite. I like it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so that was kind of, I guess if I had to sum it up into a single sentence, you could say that was kind of my vision when we started with Synked Up. But there was another thing about knowing your numbers. Like knowing your numbers has three kind of pillars to it. It's the budgeting and the estimating and the job costing. And LMN only did the budgeting and estimating. They didn't do the job costing unless you had a certain version of QuickBooks and exported data from LMN into QuickBooks. It was just a kind of a technical process that you had to go through to get it done.
Not to interrupt. Well, let me interrupt you really quick. Is that what I hear? I always hear Caleb saying. And by the way, guys, like I just shoot it straight. Like you guys know that it's unfiltered. Like I hear what people are doing and then what people are complaining about. So Caleb's always complaining about, in a good way, that LMN doesn't have the. Is it the job costing, right? Maybe. So is that he's like, it's a great service and a great software. And by the way, again, I got no skin in the game. If you like LMN, go sign up with LMN. If you like Jobber, go sign up with Jobber. Like I don't care. I just let me introduce or interject this real quick. Figure out the business model that you're going to build. Figure out the end game, and then for the love of God, work backwards. Like that's something that I just really want to implore really quick in this whole conversation. Because if you guys are like, I want to build a $1 million or $2 million company like the Almonds, and they're using LMN and it's working for them. Fantastic. Like, so if you have a $200,000 landscape company, knowing you're going to go to $2 million, or Troy Clogg, if I'm not mistaken, big guy by us, $10-20 million company, he's using, I believe, LMN as well. Corey Ballard, Ballard Products talks to, the 0 to $500,000, the 0 to 5 guys, the owner operator business like myself, they promote Jobber, but for Corey's $25 million company, if I'm not mistaken, they use LMN. And then there's Service Autopilot for $2, $5, $10, $20 million companies. Like they all work. They all do a great job. So figure out the business you guys are trying to work towards and then adopt that software as early on. But to go full circle, I think the job costing thing is where Caleb is like, LMN's great, but they need to have that resource there to really round out their package or portfolio. Is that kind of what we're talking about? Yeah,
that's exactly right. Because like I was saying, like this whole game of knowing your numbers, everybody throws that term out there, but what it really means is budgeting. So I make sure that I am accurately recovering my overhead. And going to be profitable and pricing my jobs correctly. Then it's, using your budget to estimate with to make sure that the price you give to your customer for a patio is the right number. And then it's job costing to make sure that the hours and the materials and stuff that you estimated were actually correct. Because what a lot of people end up doing, and they don't even know it, is they'll make one assumption, hey, I can do a $20,000 patio in 100 man hours or whatever, and it actually takes them 130, and they do that 8 times over a season.
Sure.
And they get to the end of the year and their payroll is high and they're looking at their P&L. They didn't give as much money as they wanted to make, and they're trying to figure out why. And by that time, it's really, really, really hard to figure out what you need to do different next time to not repeat the same mistake.
Sure.
And so, you said, Caleb said, job costing is like doing an autopsy on your job, or another way to think about it is it's like a mini P&L, profit and loss statement, on every single job you do, instead of looking at your entire company trying to figure out where the leaks are.
That's awesome. I love that. I really do. Like to any of you guys listening in, that should be money to your ears. I mean, literally and figuratively, right? Like if from a $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 landscape job to a, I don't know, $50,000 patio, right? I mean, that's the gist of it. And so I love listening to the Kid Contractor podcast because they talk about different things than we do. And Kale and Brittany will be like, yeah, we did this one job. And they're like, yeah, like, they joke, like, we didn't make any money on that one, ha, ha, ha. If you're just kind of mowing and blowing and you're just doing, lawn maintenance like me, like, you kind of look at things month to month. You kind of look at what was all of our costs, associated to the rig, the overhead, the equipment, and then you're, adding your labor. And then I get like basically a monthly P&L, if you will. And
yep.
you can kind of operate your landscaping company that way, but the more wise way to do it, right, would be, let's look at each individual job. And so, I don't know if you guys are listening in, to me, that just fires me up. Like, that just gets me excited. If I was a landscaper and I could literally do an autopsy or a mini P&L on every job I do, which that's the thing. Like, we talk about it's just so much noise with podcasting and life and YouTube and everything that you guys are always listening to. But at the end of the day, like, when's the last time you actually slowed down and didn't say, I got to get to the next job. I got to get to the next job.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
When's the last time you slowed down? And I'm not preaching. I'm talking to myself included. Like, when's the last time you went back on a job and you're like, you know what? We actually only made 18% on that, or we made this other job, you made 32%, but you thought you only made 15%, and so you're like, well, we need to get more profitable jobs. Well, which jobs are even profitable? Like, do you even know? And I say that out of love because I know, guys, I'm out there doing the same thing you guys are doing every single day. I know the attitude. It's go, 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 hustle, 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 beat the rain, beat the weather. Customers' expectations are always ridiculous and in a good way. And so I get it. Like Weston, can you speak to that? Like, how is Synked Up, for example, changing? Let's go full circle. Let's hit the fast forward button. Let's go to the end. Why are people joining Synked Up? Why is it because you guys have like a really pretty colorful like logo on Instagram, like that red and gold? Or what are you selling everybody? Are you signing up all the influencers to get all the rest of us? Like what is it, man? Because I'm telling you, I've seen so many great folks sign up with Synked Up, and it's made my head go, wait, who is Synked Up and what are they doing? So let's hit fast forward. Let's go to the end. What's the sell for Synked Up, and why is everybody starting to switch over to you guys?
Yeah, well, we're not handing out sponsorships, at least not yet. So it's that everybody's been signing up. It's all genuine.
Yeah, I better not see that Mulder, truck, with Synked Up all over the side, right? Like he's got.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I said at least not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Doesn't mean I don't think it works.
Well, he bought that Encon, right? So we got to figure out like where's that money. I'm just having fun,
yeah, exactly.
guys. I'm just having fun. Like I think the U.S. Federal Reserve is borrowing money from Andy, but that's a whole nother story. So
yeah, exactly. That's a good one.
So take it away, man. What's Synked Up? What's the hot take on it?
Well, the biggest thing is like people get into they might start where you are, Brian, with mow and blow. They get kind of enamored with these design, build, outdoor living spaces. They want to do some patios. They want to do some whatever. Mm-hmm. And they get into it and they start doing some jobs and they make money on some, they lose money on some, and they just struggle with not being certain about their numbers. Like there's no certainty. Mm-hmm. And they're like, man, I'm not sure, like I'm buying all this expensive equipment, and there's just this big question of how do I know I'm charging the right price for a 400 square foot patio? Should it be 15,000? Should it be 25,000? How do I know? Mm-hmm. And the truth is every company has different overhead burdens. So two different companies, two guys in a truck could go bid a patio, and a big $10 million company could go bid a patio, and they would bid the exact same job with the exact same materials, and they both have different prices to the customer. And that's just how it should be. That's normal. That's okay. And the reason is because those two example companies have radically different overhead costs, which means that they have to recover that overhead in the cost of the job. But anyway, back to your thing of like why people are signing up with Synked Up. It's basically to get confidence around knowing their numbers. Like if you're in a jobber, you have great organizational tools, you're saving a lot of time, it's great. But besides jobber, you have all your stack of spreadsheets, you're manipulating and downloading the spreadsheets off of other people's websites. Or I know there's a number of people out there that sell estimating spreadsheets and all of that. And, those are great. Even the spreadsheet, you can do everything Synked Up does in a spreadsheet. The problem is, though, it's a manual thing. And manual things don't scale. And there's a lot of human error that can happen in spreadsheets. So basically, and from LMN, the three main reasons that people come over from LMN is, well, number one, for the job costing, because right in the app, we show live job costing on every job. Before the job's even done, you can see exactly how you're tracking. Okay. And that and the mobile app is really fully featured. Like you can literally run your business from your truck instead of just track time from the LMN mobile app. And it's all in one system, whereas LMN system is broken out across LMN CRM, LMN estimating, LMN time. And
Okay.
so that's why a lot of LMN users have been jumping ship coming over to Synked Up. It's just simpler for them. It feels less overwhelming to them. And then the other thing is we have a really rigorous onboarding process, because a lot of people have never built a budget. And even if we gave them the tools to build a budget, they're like, well, how do I know what I'm entering in here is right? And I'm watching a video, trying to watch it, we didn't really yet solve the certainty problem, right?
Okay.
So we actually have an onboarding process where we will help you build your first budget in your account as part of the onboarding process.
Oh, cool.
And so many people. I talk to every person that signs up with Synked Up after they're all done with onboarding. And I just ask them, like, how's it going? What's your favorite part? What didn't you like? What do you like? And so many people are just like, oh man, I feel so much better knowing that my numbers are dialed in. I've never built a budget before, or I did, but I was always overwhelmed. I wasn't sure that I was entering in the right information. And here they can pick brains of people on our team that have done this for decades and can answer those questions. It's almost like a business coaching session more than it is a fill out your data session.
Right.
And so, basically when it comes down to it, why are people coming over to Synked Up is because we're essentially marrying the organizational things of scheduling, having information from your mobile app, having better communication between your sales guy and your crew leader or whatever, all with the know your numbers aspect with budgeting, estimating, and job costing. So you don't have a stack of spreadsheets beside your system.
That is really, really, I mean, well said. And I appreciate you just, sharing with these guys. Cause I'm sure if you guys are listening in and you're watching anywhere, everywhere, you're seeing all the same stuff that I am with a lot of people that are hardscaping, landscaping, sign up with Synked Up. And this isn't the juxtaposition, anything against anybody. Like, they're all great CRMs out there, but again, figure out the CRM that works best for the business model and the business that you're trying to build, and then work your way backwards. And so I know guys out there that they love, Jobber, like my friend Mike Bedell. He loves Jobber, uses Jobber, but he's been doing it using Jobber for like a decade, way before he had an affiliate code. And so that's just one thing, like, as an influencer, right? I'm just kidding. But it's one of those things where, like, the code or the products that I use, like, we genuinely like them. We genuinely use them. And I always want to keep that integrity with you guys. And I'm not digging at anybody or throwing shade at anybody or anything like that. But there's other people that promote certain things. And I know for a fact that some folks use a different CRM behind the scenes. And I always want to keep integrity with you guys, with who I am and what I'm doing. And I've said a dozen times to later have you guys hold me to an account that if Yardbook didn't promote us on the YouTube channel, I'm not going to jump ship and say, hey, what's up, Synked Up? Pay me $50,000. It's nothing like that. You know what I mean? So yeah. I just genuinely want to always let you guys know, like, don't get lost in the who's promoting what, or they have a code or they can save you a few percent. I'll tell you what, even if somebody was promoting, like Cujo shoes and they didn't really like them, I find less of an issue, although it's still an integrity issue, but I find it less of an issue than messing with somebody's CRM and finances, because a CRM to me is like, how would you describe it, Weston? It's like the foundational pillars that your company is going to rest on for the next 10, 20, 50, 100 years, whatever. Yeah.
Your business, it's the engine that your business runs on. It's critical. Like, you don't the pain of switching is high. And
I can only imagine, like, people with, like, companies that are doing $1 million, $5 million, $10 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You don't want to play. I agree with you. Like, if it's shoes, big deal. Yeah. If it's somebody's CRM, like, the livelihoods are at stake there. You could cause people to lose a lot of money or whatever.
Yep. Well, and that's why I'm like, look, I like the Cujos. I love them, but some people, like, they buy them, like, I want to go to Brunt Workwear or some, I got another company, another code. That's fine, guys. Like, you guys understand, like, out there, you guys are hopefully intelligent enough to see that. But even the more younger crowd, or maybe somebody who's a more naive and they don't know what's going on and they don't know all the lingo and they're still learning and they're just getting involved in the industry. I want them to make sure that they always know that from day one, like, we're using stuff that we stand behind, or we talk about things that we stand behind, and I can't guarantee that for everybody out there, but maybe that's why we have a little bit larger following than some folks. There's just the trust factor there. So all things being said, like, in all full disclosure, like, Weston's not paying me to say nice things about Synked Up. I'm going to let them speak for themselves. And by the way, they have. And I don't think quality guys would be switching over to them if it was junk or they were just getting a little side hustle kickback. Okay, it has nothing to do with any of that stuff. Weston, really quick, while I got you, I wanted to ask, elephant in the room, what's pricing? What other packages or tiers? I know nothing, so help me out really quick, or maybe somebody that's never heard of Synked Up.
So it's $359 a month if you pay annually, $399 a month if you pay month to month, and that includes your first 2 users for free.
Okay.
And each additional user is $20 a month. So most companies are spending $4 or $5 grand a year on a system like this, and that just me saying that right there will probably tune a significant percentage of people right out, and everything else I say is white noise.
Sure.
But here's the thing that I talk with people about all the time. It's like, it's not what it costs you, it's what to buy a system. It's what it costs you to not have a system. And I want to affirm what you're saying. Like, Brian is right. Like, take the business model that you want to grow, go find a product that best fits that business model, and just get something, because you cannot grow a sustainable business on pen and paper. You need these systems to make, and the other thing is these systems provide systems and processes in your business, which, by the way, will set you free as an owner operator to where you're no longer a slave to the business serves you. At the end of the day, I think we all just want to be able to have the business provide a life that we want for our family and our teams.
Amen.
And it's just like any other tool. Like you see people that have no problem going out there and dropping six figures on new machines, but then when it comes to a tool that is nothing more than an app screen, it's like, oh man, I just can't justify it. It's just not tangible.
Sure.
When that software tool, I'm not even saying Synked Up, just any use driver, whatever, that software tool could literally save you umpteen hours a month, or save you from making an estimating mistake, or get you numbers that you never knew numbers are truth. Numbers are black and white. And that is what's so rewarding about these guys going through this budgeting process and beginning to use Synked Up, is for the first time they have the confidence to stand in front of the customer and not negotiate on the price. Instead, they'll negotiate on the scope of the job.
I love that. Yep.
And so
that's how you stop people from talking you down, So.
Yeah. Once you know your numbers and it's not like this, like, I think I need $85 an hour, but maybe I'm being greedy, and you self-doubt yourself, and it becomes this emotional head trash battle.
Seriously.
It's
huge.
Like, no, man, if I plug in $70 an hour, which is, then I look at my numbers and it's in black and white right in front of me, that I would make no money on it.
Yep. So good. There's a lot of baked into this whole conversation. I really encourage you guys to go back through and just listen to Weston just drop nuggets all day, because he's eating, breathing, sleeping, this business, this industry, and you can tell he's passionate about it. And it's funny, before we hit record for like just 10 seconds, we were catching up, and I'm like, how you been, man? He's like, dude, I'm coming off a whirlwind tour of like 100 trade shows, So he's been working the trade show floor, and that's always like the meat grinder of like people coming at you with hardball questions, and sticking their finger in your face, like what about this, or how about that, and so, but dude, you've answered everything awesomely, articulately, which I don't know if that's me being able to articulate with the word awesomely, but anyway, you've done a great job. I really appreciate it. Let me ask you this, maybe some like final thought that you want to leave these guys about Synked Up, and or just broad business advice, anything that you've kind of taken away working with the other companies that you've been able to partner up with, and then really quick, give me a real life practical conversion kind of a story, like somebody who switched over from something to you guys. You can probably leave the name of the person and the company out of it, but give me a testimony. Give me like the most recent guy that you've helped migrate over. Why did he migrate over? How big was his business, and what's his outlook on joining with Synked Up?
First guy that popped in my head when you said that was a guy out in Kansas City. I actually went out and visited them a couple weeks ago while I was out there on traveling for these shows and stuff. And I asked him that exact question. Like, why did you end up switching? Because I ask those questions point blank when people sign up, because I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know this as much as you guys. I have my assumptions, but I want to know what caused them to switch.
Sure.
And he said, I used LMN, and it was fine, but I never, I hear this all the time, I just never got to use it to its fullest potential because I never got it set up correctly, and I just couldn't get this. The whole analogy I was giving you about I never built a budget, and so I'm not confident in the numbers that are in my estimates, and so I don't trust them, and so I kind of revert to my old ways anyway. And when he went through our onboarding process where we built his budget for him, all those questions were answered in black and white, and he felt like he had the confidence, and he was rolling. And what this guy does, incredible outdoor living spaces. Like, he does pool decks around pools and pavilions and structures like that. And I hear that a lot over and over again. Like, for the first time, they finally are confident about knowing their numbers. And, you know, you were saying about the comment you made about what's some broader business advice. Like, I'm just going to go back to what you were saying. Like, just choose something and do it. Because the sooner you do, the better off you'll be in the long run. The longer you think you're saving $1 by not getting a system, you're only hurting yourself and your team. And once you actually have a system fully activated and using in your business, and you realize, like, man, I'm saving so much time. I can spend more time with my family, or we're making better money. I can pay my employees better next year, or whatever. Or I can give them performance bonuses that I never could before. You know, that's where this stuff really shines, where it has value. And we're human beings. It's natural. I fight the same emotional battle sometimes in my own personal life when I'm making purchases. Like, oh man, it's just too much money. I can't make it. It's like, just rip off the Band-Aid, get it done. Doesn't have to be synced up. Go get whatever, you know, Service Autopilot is great for big commercial maintenance companies. You know, choose the product that's good for your business model and just use it. And, cool. And I just encourage people to rip off the Band-Aid and get it done.
No, that's a great way to end it. One thing that it's just kind of funny to me, like you talked about, some people will look at like the cost of something, and then other people like look at the value of it, or whatever you want to say. And one more recent example of this was Liz and I, you guys know like the Delta Sky Lounge, right? Or maybe you don't know, but there's like this elusive crowd, this elusive club, you know, and it's not really a club. It's like $39 you get into the Delta Sky Lounge if you happen to travel in airports. Well, Liz and I have done like 8 flights in like the last 8 months. It's been wild. We're doing more family stuff and then just traveling for YouTube. And I think my baby girl will be on like 13 flights by the time she's a year old, which is which is wild, dude. Like it's a dream come true for us to like be able to do some stuff and like travel and like make some extra money and go and visit things and people and places, right? So my whole point is like, going to the Delta Sky Lounge, some of you listening in, or maybe have friends or family or cheaper people in your household that would never pay $39 per person to go to the Delta Sky Lounge for an extra hour and a half, 2 hours, have like a private little like getaway spot from the rest of the hustle and bustle of an airport. And there's other folks that get to the airport 2 to 3 hours early. They have the special credit card that gets them a couple free passes, or they just have the card anyway to get into the Delta Sky Lounge. And it's as a part of going to the airport and the destination is the Sky Lounge is wrapped up into that adventure. And so it's one of those things like, some people would never spend $39 to go to a place that has like hors d'oeuvres, okay? And they get away from the hustle and bustle. My mom would never. She's like, that's stupid. Liz and I, we did it one time and we've been hooked ever since. We're like, oh my God, there's caviar and champagne. I'm just kidding, by the way. There's not. There's not. But my friend Mike Bedell was like, you ever been to a Delta Sky Lounge? And I'm like, no, like tell me more, you know? And so here's the deal. Now Liz and I are like, hey, you want to get to the airport early? And it's like, it's the weirdest thing. And so here's my point. Some people will look at $40 for the Delta Sky Lounge and be like, that's completely stupid and a waste of money. Other folks are like, you know what? Let's get away from everybody. Let's have some quiet time. Let's get some sandwiches and some salads and some cocktails or whatever, right? And so here's my point. Some people are going to look at a CRM the same way. They're like, look, I like Yardbook. It's arguably free. I think there's a 1% on the credit card processing unless you have the premium plan, which is like $35 a month. But you know what? It's like an iPhone. It's simple. It works. It does what you need it to do. And then other people are like, LMN or Synked Up, $300 or $400 a month. Are you kidding me? That's a truck payment, right? I'm sure you've heard that, Weston. Look, Look, I get it, but you know what? You know how you stop worrying about your truck payments is when you have a good CRM that helps you manage your numbers, so you start making money, so you don't have to worry about truck payments anymore. Okay, so
exactly,
it's all relative, and so that's my point. Some people are like, $400 a month, I could never, and other people are like, paying $400 a month or $5,000 a year has helped me. I'm sure there's great testimonies out there that Weston can share that have helped save or make people an additional 6 figures, right? So it's all relative. And so that's where I'm like, people are like, man, $250 for a coaching call. I would never. I'm like, I pay $650 for some people on the phone for an hour, and it is made me hundreds of thousands of dollars. So guys, don't be afraid to invest. We make all this money and people like make it and then they want to go buy Yeezys or buy a Ford Mustang, and that's fine. But the number one thing you can always invest in is yourself. That always appreciates. Okay. So invest in yourself. That's like, I think one of our slogans on like the podcast, invest in your business, invest in yourself. Well, it goes from coaching calls to CRMs into anything that can help make you run a more profitable and successful business. And I know that's the mission of Weston and his founders and co-founders and the Synked Up, team. So, Weston, that's what I got, man. This has just been a banger of a quick podcast with you. We super appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. Literally, like, we've been trying to lock this down for 2-3 weeks, and you're like on tour. Apparently, I am flying around to all the Delta Sky Lounges, which is so stupid and sounds so pretentious. But anyway, Troy, that's what I got. But anything you want to leave these guys? But if not, man, we'll button it up. We really appreciate you joining us on the show.
No, just, I think what I'll leave you with is just remember, it's not what it's costing you, it's what it's costing you to not have a system. Because I absolutely believe you use a system like this properly, you should see a 5-10x return on the cost that you're paying out should come back to you in saved, overhead recovery, more profits, whatever. So just make sure that you're looking at it through the right lens, through the right perspective. Don't have to, Synked Up isn't the right one for everyone. Go figure out which one is right for you. Just use it. And man, it's been awesome. I've enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah, no, dude, you're awesome, man. We're definitely gonna have to get you back on the show. Maybe we'll pick your brain about recovering overhead costs and all. There you go. Yeah. Sores versus mores, and we'll do a 3-way phone call with Pay Repeat, and then you guys can just argue with each other. You know what I'm saying? So
that'll be good.
I'm just having fun. Pay Repeat came to our conference LAL, and he did a banger presentation for an hour talking about, are you actually making money? And it was one of the best speeches I've ever heard personally. So hopefully we'll get him back in, whether it's this year or next year, and he can do a part 2. But really quick, Weston, where can they find you guys? Social, and then maybe a website if you want to plug these for these guys, and we'll button it up.
It's spelled funky, so listen up. It's just Synked Up, all one word, SYNKEDUP. SynkedUp.com, and our socials are the same thing, just Synked Up, at Synked Up on Instagram and Facebook and on LinkedIn.
Cool.
I'm not on the TikTok bandwagon yet, but yeah, Instagram is. I'm pretty active on Instagram.
Yeah, awesome. Do you guys have like a code or like a sign up for like a generic one for the office or a trial or something like that? If people do want to download it, mess around with the software, or is it like nothing?
Yeah, we have some free tools for budgeting and job costing and estimating on our website. If you go to the resources tab on our website.
Okay.
Or we have a pre-recorded demo, or you can book a live demo right on our website where we can take you on a tour, go through the system, answer your questions, show you how the job flows through the system, and ultimately our goal is to help you figure out whether we're right for you or not. We're not right for everybody, but that's what that's there for.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, guys, if you guys sign up with Synked Up, tell them that we sent you. I like I said, genuinely speaking, I don't have a code or a kickback. I don't want one. Like I said, I'm excited about what Weston and them got going on any which way. And if you guys want to use a different CRM, there's dozens of folks that have codes for everything everywhere. Yardbook doesn't have any codes for us. It's a free software, so can't really save you any money on free. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know what? If you guys get the little follow-up survey, it's like, how did you hear from us? Tell them Brian sent you over. So
there you go.
Something like that.
I'll put in like Brian's 10 and see if it works.
People always ask me if I got any codes for Yardbook, and I'm like, it's free. And they're like, oh, I did. So I don't know. I like messing with people that way. But all right, guys, we'll button this up here. I got to get back to a spring cleanup job. Weston's got he's slaying the world, building CRMs and budgets out for the whole world for everybody with hardscaping and landscaping. So we'll button it up right here, man. Weston, genuinely speaking, seriously, sincerely, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for giving me the time. I've had a great time, and I appreciate the interview. It's been fun.
Absolutely. All right, guys. We'll button up here with this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. We definitely appreciate you guys listening in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The show is posted every morning without fail, 7 a.m. from Marty, Mr. Producer, which let's kick it back over to Marty, hear a little bit more from today's show sponsor, show announcements as we wrap this things up. Thanks for joining up with us, guys, and we look forward to catching up with you here on the next one.
Looking for one place to find all the gear you need? Then Ballard-Inc.com is what you've been looking for. With over 30 years in the industry and 22 years selling high-quality products, we've got you covered. From mower gear, trailer racks, mower blades, safety gear, and more, you'll find everything you need to maximize your efforts and protect your gear in one place. We are constantly bringing you new products to make you effective, efficient, safe, and profitable. Make sure to use Brian's 10 to save 10% at checkout. We've made our website even better and easier to use, so head over to ballard-inc.com today and gear up. We appreciate the support and hope you have a great season.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.